If you're raising a child abroad and wondering, where's my village? Then this video is for you. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can build a support system even if you're living far away from home. Let's be honest, parenting is hard. I mean, in general, and then doing it abroad, away from your family, from your close friends, and away from the parenting norms that you're used to. Like I spoke about in my previous video, it can be really lonely, but I got good news for you. I've done it, and that village is buildable. So let's get right into it. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, this is aka Mama and I'm Tafar. So in this space we speak about motherhood, raising children abroad, and generally heartfelt real parenting stories. Alright, so I want to start by reframing what a village actually looks like. So it doesn't have to be your parents living right next door to you or your childhood best friend living close to you. It can be other expat parents, local neighbors, it could be teachers or childcare providers. It could also be other online parenting communities, cultural centers, play centers, or if you're a religious person, religious groups. Overall, your village can be multi-layered. There are people that are going to be there for emotional support. There's people that are going to be there, for childcare. And then there's also going to be those people that are just there to make you laugh when you're complaining about your child writing on the wall. So I think to have really healthy expectations, you shouldn't expect everybody within your village to serve the same purpose, because even back home, that's not the case, right? All right, so I know in my video on breastfeeding for first-time moms, I mentioned one of the Facebook groups that I was in, and it was with moms that were due round about the same time. So at some point in this group, people started sharing their zip codes because they wanted to meet up. And, out of these posts, WhatsApp groups stemmed of people that lived in the same area. And we didn't meet when we were pregnant, but after we had settled into this whole motherhood thing and we were all first time moms, we finally met up and would meet up occasionally for play dates. And it was really good because this was a group of moms that were not only on the same journey but really at the same time frame. Our children were on similar schedules, so we could actually just say, oh, let's meet up when the kids wake up from their nap, and everyone would just write, okay, my baby's up, my baby's up. And when all the babies were up, we'd just head to the park, have a picnic, have a walk, chill. It was really, really cool. But one thing I can say is that, most people went back to work after 1 year, and we haven't met since then. But we can still see each other on WhatsApp. We can write once in a while, and for me, it's just interesting to see these babies growing and thriving, although we're actually not actively meeting. And it's just nice to have the option, right? If I did want to meet up with one of these ladies, I could reach out and I know we could make a plan. My son's best friend is actually from a mom that I met through a Facebook group. So it's actually really interesting what kind of relationships can stem out of these things. But I do want to emphasize that you really, really have to do your due diligence. That's really important before you meet up with strangers from the internet, especially when you're pregnant or when you have a baby. That's like super important. Another very interesting mom group I had was from my postnatal gym classes. So in general, I did want to sign up for postnatal gym classes, but luckily my midwife offered these classes and she said to me, Tafara, you need to join my group. I have absolutely amazing moms and they all live close by. She's like, trust me, you're gonna love them. And okay, I knew her and I knew she knew me well. So I signed up for her, postnatal gym classes. And it was really cool. So of course, in the beginning, we were meeting up every week when we went for these postnatal gym classes. And the really nice thing about it is that we could take our babies with us. So during the class, there were like midwife students that would babysit whilst we focused on our postnatal gym class. And if one needed to attend to the baby, you could just go there and like after the class would hang out. And then when this course was done, she had connected us via WhatsApp. So we would also like meet up for breakfast or for play dates, go to the zoo, just like mom stuff. And similar to the other mom group I mentioned, when everybody went back to work, we didn't come around to meeting up either. And unfortunately, two of the moms, they moved back to to their home city where they came from here in Germany. because they were struggling without the support from the family. But overall, that was also a really, really cool mom group to have. So, postnatal gym classes are something I would highly recommend. And whilst you're attending those classes, you're going to meet moms that are like on a similar journey, on a similar time frame as you and your baby. For many, many months, my son was attending the Cologne University of Music, I know, as a baby, because they offered a music class for parents and their babies. And of course, I signed up, and oh my gosh, I would say like that was one of my absolute favorite activities when he was a newborn. Every Friday we had music class, and it was so interesting to watch my son, develop and gain interest in music. And I would say that this class was also a part of my village because it was run by a lecturer and his students. And as the weeks progressed, they really became invested in the child's personal development. They were amazed by the fascination. They knew the baby's favorite instrument. And when they introduced them to new instruments, that was also very, very exciting to watch. And when I look at photos or when I watch videos, it's like, oh my gosh, he literally grew whilst he was going to that class. And these guys, they knew his personality and the other babies' personalities. It was also a great opportunity to meet other moms. I absolutely loved it. So you can just do research on, what activities are in your city for babies. I was also really down for the fact that it was for free. And additionally, one thing that I also loved that was free, that was a great opportunity to meet other moms. The city library, I almost said the city bibliothèque. Anyways, the city library offered like a reading, what can I call it? A reading club for crawling babies. Of course, if your baby doesn't crawl, you can still go there. But it was really interesting for kids that are now mobile because, in the beginning, they would have a box full of books, and whoever's hosting that session would think of a theme. And then, they'll find a grand way to introduce this box to the babies. And the babies would get to unwrap it and take out the books and explore. And it's really amazing how much literature is there for like specific or random topics. I mean, I vividly remember the day that the lady said today's topic is frog. I thought to myself, how much can one say or do about frogs? But this box was full of frog related books, all kids books, and they had books for sensory skill development, interesting pictures, interesting colors, everything so vibrant. She was singing frog songs. She had frog toys that made frog sounds. But there's all this stuff going on. So of course, for the child, it's very interesting. But for me as a mom, it was interesting to go there with him, of course, but to also see other moms and see other babies. Okay, it was only every second Wednesday, but then you get to see the same faces, and it's like, oh, hi, nice to see you. And you can decide whether you want to build a stronger relationship out of that or not. And so for these kind of places, like with the University of Music, with the city library, or let's say even the playground, you have to be brave and proactively say hi to other moms. I've had friends that said to me they didn't find other moms so friendly at the playground. I can't really rate that because the inner child in me is still thriving. When I went to the playground, or even today when I go to the playground, I'm mainly going there to play, but also to watch my child playing. So anything else that happens there additionally is like a bonus. But for me, the playground is also not really a place where I was looking for mom friends, because I find that I do have enough friends. I just actually need to create time for them. And the other moms, that I became friends with, they were either from the mom groups or friends I already had that are now moms. All right, so those were all externally driven relationships or community building, activities, I would say. But one thing I would really highly love to highlight is don't make the assumption that those already close to you are happily going to become a part of your journey. I had a very close friend of mine decide to distance themselves for reasons I won't get into right now. I was proactive a couple of times, but they made their decision. I respected it. With time, I've gotten to understand it better. But those that want to stick around will, those that don't, they won't, whether you're proactive or not. Anyways, so for those close friends that are still a part of my life, I want to say it's a two-way street. I didn't isolate myself because I became a mother. I mean, and I found it very fascinating. I've also read many posts of people that complain of, oh, my friends no longer invite me. I don't get invited to stuff, so, life has become a bit dry. My friends, they invited me to their birthdays, they invited me to their house parties. Interestingly enough, I would say I attended most of them because our baby was really easy with sticking on the schedule. So when we went to the house parties, I'll just make sure that, when it was his bedtime, I'd, go to a quiet room, breastfeed him, and then I'd put him in the carrier till he fell asleep, and we could just, hang out whilst he was sleeping. So I think it also depends on your child's personality. For those kids that can't sleep when they're not at home, I don't know what the solution was, but for us, we still maintained that schedule. So it was easy to continue to maintain relationships with friends. And one of my friends said, Tafara, we always invite you because most of the time you make it, and we want to leave it up to you to decide whether you want to tag along or not. I know one of my friends celebrated her birthday. The first part of it was in her home, and then afterwards they like had an excursion. So I was like, okay, I went out, I went with the baby, and we were there until the part where everyone was leaving the house and going drinking. And that's when I drove home. It was really nice for me to see my friends. Okay, I was probably only there for 2 or 3 hours, but it's like I was part of her birthday, and she has memories of myself and my son also being a part of her birthday, which meant so much to me. But speaking of my village, I had a very interesting experience. I think my son he was under 1 year at that moment. I was off to the supermarket, and I saw this girl. She looked like someone I know. And then I called her name because I wasn't sure if it was her. And then it turned out to be a former colleague of mine. And then we started speaking. She's like, oh my gosh, I saw you have a son on Instagram. I was like, yes, I do. She's like, I have a child too. And turns out her child was just a few months younger than mine. And then she went on to tell me that another former colleague of ours also had a baby that was just 6 months younger than my son. So we reconnected because back in the day when we lost touch, it wasn't that we had a fallout or anything. I was studying in a different city. I stopped working for the company I was working for. So with time, we lost contact. But because there was no bad blood and we just really genuinely got along, this motherhood journey reconnected us. And when my son mentions his friends, their children are on that list because we meet up regularly. And I'm so grateful. It's just really nice to have, moms that that you're familiar with that have children, especially round about the age of your children. Because, we can do the same stuff on weekends or, whenever one of us is free. Although my parents are in Zimbabwe and of course we can't see them as often as I wish we could, it was not only important to me that he has a good relationship with his maternal grandparents, it was also equally important to me that he has a good relationship with his paternal grandparents. So we created a ritual where I would visit them every Monday. And with time, Mondays were their dedicated slot for their grandchild. And I'm so grateful for all the time that he got to spend with his maternal grandparents when he was a little baby, because he has a solid relationship with them. We have lots of photos, lots of videos, and that was a very important part of my village. But we shouldn't underestimate, the value of virtual villages. I couldn't have done this without my parents, without my sisters. Oh my gosh, they've been such a crucial part of my parenting journey, my motherhood journey, my best friend, his other aunties, his other uncles that live all across the globe. They're so important to me, and he understands their importance. And I'm so grateful that I have this virtual village. Without them, this journey would have been so tough. So yes, it sucks that we can't physically always be close by or in the same place, but I'm so grateful for these technologies, WhatsApp calls, WhatsApp groups, um, Instagram memes that we send each other. It's all a really important part of my emotional safety net. And I'll forever be grateful for my virtual village. Couldn't do without it. But also, one very, very, very important factor for your sanity. And I find a lot of moms, They either forget or they make assumptions, but you should lean into your partner. Don't assume that they don't know how to do stuff. I strongly believe in paternal instinct. It's a thing, it exists. And when you trust that somebody can do it, either they can do it or at least give them the chance to be able to step up. So that's really, really important. And it's so important to articulate when you need help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of strength. Being able to articulate what you need, how you need it, and when is very important for building a solid village. Eventually, you'll look around and realize, oh my gosh, this is my village. It may look different than what you imagined, but it's yours. So if you're building a village abroad, I wish you all the best. Enjoy the journey. Drop a comment if you found creative ways of building a village. And if you found this video insightful, please don't hesitate to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share with your loved ones. Thank you so much and see you next time.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share.